Uh-oh.
Okay, we'll start with this. A glimpse into the immediate future of the inaugural undisputed flyweight champion, Gabriela Fundora, who's hinting at an April return. Commerce, California. Undisputed flyweight champion Gabriela Fundora has told Boxing Scene that she anticipates an April return to the ring. Fundora claimed all 4 belts in November as she stopped unified champion Gabriela Alaniz in the 7th round. Fundora, 22, the sister of current junior middleweight champion Sebastian Fundora, is currently viewed as one of the best fighters in women's boxing. Significant praise, especially given that fighters such as Clarissa Shields, Amanda Serrano, and Katie Taylor remain active. We'll be returning soon, Fundora told Boxing Scene on Thursday. I think we will probably be fighting in April. Fundora, 15-0 with 7 KOs, stands out for her size. She stands in at 5'9" with power. Knockouts are rare in women's boxing, with 2-minute rounds granting fighters fewer chances to land hurtful punches and follow up, but nearly half of Fundora's fights have ended in stoppages, including one against a unified champion in Gabriela Alaniz. I think we made a good statement, Fundora said of the performance. With no name given for her next opponent, Fundora is embracing the future. Simpson Lukowicz, Fundora's co-promoter, along with Golden Boy Promotions, revealed that Gabby could make a mandatory title defense of her IBF title against Marilyn Badillo. Badillo, a 24-year-old fighter from Mexico, holds a record of 19 wins with no losses and 1 draw, 3 knockouts. She most recently fought in December, winning an 8-round unanimous decision over Graciela Cortez Aguilar. This year, we're going to be in for a lot of surprises, Fundora said. We're looking to make our mandated defense and see what else is going to come up. Ever use the head that wears the crown? That's what they say. When you have all 4 major titles at a given weight, there are mandatories for every single one of those belts. It's not just Marilyn Badillo, that if young Gabby makes a decision to have an extended stay in the flyweight division, this is who her mandatories may end up being. Via the WBA, you have Argentina's own Maria Rivera. She's WBA's interim champion. The WBA's #1 contender is former unified champion Marlen Esparza. Any one of those 2 could end up being Gabby's mandatory challenger by way of the WBA, by way of the WBC. Mexico's own Kenya Enriquez is WBC interim champion. Would say Kenya is definitely someone you want to keep an eye on. I perceive Kenya as being the most credible threat to Gabby's reign as undisputed champion in the entire flyweight division. Kenya is dangerous. Kenya's in line via the WBC. Marlen Esparza, once again, she's the #1 contender. She's in line via the WBO. She's right there on the Golden Boy Promotion side of things, right there with Gabby. She had a fight last month with former champion Arely Musinho on a Golden Boy Promotion show. She won a decision, but she blew the weight. She missed it. Came in at 114 pounds, where the flyweight limit is 112. So why she's still ranked there, not sure. And you wonder that Marlen Esparza shouldn't just go ahead and move up to super flyweight, challenge one of the champions up there, get ahead of this thing, to where by the time Gabby Fundora moves up, you've already got a belt at a new weight, a more comfortable weight for you. In any event, Marlene is ranked at number 1 via the WBO at flyweight. Mariling Badillo, who we just mentioned, she's ranked at number 1 via the IBF. Rumors abound. About a week ago, that's who I heard Gabby would be fighting. She would be fighting Mexico's own Mariling Badillo, who I don't think is a threat to Gabby. She's not. Pretty sure Gabby knocks her out. That's what the rotation might look like for Gabby if she so decides to stay in the flyweight division for 1 or 2 or 3 more fights, going through that rotation of mandatories. That's how it might break down. April. Going to assume that Gabby Fundora's next fight will land on the undercard of Zurdo Ramirez versus Uniel Dorticos. That's Zurdo's mandatory that he has to satisfy. I feel like Gabby's fight will be positioned on that show. I didn't think Gabby was going to stay at flyweight much longer. Didn't think she would because there are no money fights there. Nothing to really keep her in the flyweight division. I felt like she might move up soon after becoming undisputed. Apparently not. She wants to get some miles out of those belts. Rack up some title defenses, and that's fine too. That's all right. No complaints. I could go for Fundora versus Enriquez or Fundora versus Esparza. Good fights. Not against them. And I suppose that since Gabby isn't moving up to super flyweight anytime soon, the girls at super flyweight with belts can breathe a sigh of relief because she's a threat to them just as much as she's a threat to the girls at flyweight. Look for Gabby's ring return in April. Men's super bantam and featherweight news. Reigning WBA champion Nick Ball says, "I'll be the A-side." Nick Ball responds to Turkey LL Sheik's request for an Inoue fight. More dumb shit that boxers say. Dumb shit a boxer said, "Listen, buddy, you don't make in Liverpool, and you don't make anywhere on earth what Inoue makes in his own neck of the woods. You're just not worth the money that he is, and you may not like that." The way that little kids don't like a trip to the dentist, or the way that adults don't like to have to pay their taxes. You've still got to do it, whether you like it or not. And in a situation where you are so confronted with Inoue, he's the A-side, not you, because you don't generate what he generates. If you make this difficult in any way, if you sandbag it, if you drag your feet, this don't happen, hey, go unify with the other champions and see what that makes. See what that's worth. The other champions at your weight. WBO champion Rafael Espinoza, WBC champion Brandon Figueroa, Angelo Leo. Go unify with them then. See what those fights generate. See what those fights pay compared to what an Inoue fight pays, since you want to play these games. Because that's what they are. Games. Stupid games. Childish games. Now maybe Nick Ball can be the A-side to an Angelo Leo, because I do feel Nick generates more in Liverpool, or he could, than Angelo could anywhere in America, and maybe the same applies to Brandon Figueroa and Rafael Espinoza, that if you compare Nick to those guys, he either generates more or has the potential to generate more. But you can't play that game with Inoue. This guy fought in front of 50,000 Japanese. You never fought in front of an audience that size. You never fought in front of that many people. And you're not in a place yet where you do. He is. He does. He's the money, not you. And if you go mucking about, you mess this up. You're only messing it up for yourself, because you're not the A-side. Fighters in this era got a lot more autonomy than they used to. A lot more autonomy to say and do stupid things. Stupid. I ain't gonna beat around the bush. I ain't gonna sugarcoat it. It's stupid. We're not on the eve of an Inoue versus Nick Ball fight. It's just a suggestion that Turkey LL Sheik threw out there. But if this is Nick Ball's reaction to that suggestion, it's stupid. Plain and simple.
Why should Naoya Inoue get a pass to fight low-level opponents and duck his mandatory, not once, not twice, but 3 times? Like, I just feel like if that was like, I don't know, AJ. Like, you imagine if AJ would have ducked Usyk. Usyk was the mandatory, he boxed him. A lot of people said, don't fight him, vacate your belt. No, I'm a champion, I want to be undisputed. Right? That's what you do as a champion. Inoue is undisputed, pound for pound great. But I've got to say, his resume is pretty shit, to be honest with you.
All the champions at 118 and all the champions at 122. That's shit.
Like, okay, he beat Stephen Fulton. Good performance. I mean, I don't know.
You notice how he doesn't mention Marlon Tapales, unified champion Marlon Tapales that beat your fighter. Cat got your tongue? Did you forget what happened? While you carry on about how Inoue's resume is shit, well, it can't be that bad because he beat the Marlon Tapales that beat your fighter.
I think Naoya Inoue is really disappointing. And I think he's very, very disappointing as a champion. And I think fight fans need to wake up at what's going on here with Naoya Inoue. He's boxed TJ Dehenny.
A late replacement.
And the geezer on Saturday.
A late replacement.
I know he was supposed to fight Sam Goodman. No disrespect, but another, like, what, are you just allowing this to happen? He's been ordered now twice to fight MJ. He's paid money to the WBA for a permit to avoid him.
Do you think that fight just won't happen now then?
Obviously. But listen, what I'm telling you now, yeah? So remember this. The WBA said, okay, we'll allow you to fight Goodman reluctantly. That's the second time you've ducked.
Yeah, you're full of shit. You're full of shit because Sam Goodman became the mandatory challenger to Naoya Inoue before your fighter did. The WBA was not next in the rotation. Of all the mandatory challengers Inoue has, MJ was the last. Between Luis Nery and Sam Goodman, last. MJ was the last.
But after Goodman, or now this guy's just boxed, you have to fight Akhmadaliev, and we will order the fight immediately. If you do not fight him, you'll be stripped of the WBA title. He's only going to fight Picasso. Picasso.
Yeah, listen, Eddie, I wouldn't be too hard on Alan Picasso, because Alan Picasso is actually better than the last guy that your guy fought. Alan's a young, undefeated fighter, as opposed to the fighter that your fighter fought, a guy with 4 losses going in. Now, I don't normally take issue with things that Eddie Hearn says, but I gotta draw the line here because I got a very low tolerance for bullshit, and that's what all of this is. Bullshit.
He's an artist, isn't he?
He is actually. He is a good fighter.
He's not as good as MJ Akhmadaliev. He was last seen doing a little bit of pastel work somewhere, you know, on the canvas, and not the one in the ring. Oh, Picasso. What the 3 ducks? I mean, this is outrageous.
Accusing Naoya Inoue of ducking MJ Akhmadaliev should he drop his WBA title, and he might. That might happen. Is tantamount to accusing Canelo Alvarez of ducking William Skull for having dropped his IBF title. Do you notice how the energy is different? Do you notice how the energy is not the same? Did you see Eddie Hearn standing on his soapbox when that happened? Did you see him on the pulpit preaching the way he's preaching now? No, because he doesn't promote William Skull. He doesn't give a shit about William Skull. No, coincidentally, there are a lot of people out there. They don't give a shit about your fighter. Now, I'll level with you. Would I prefer that Inoue fight MJ in his next fight instead of Allen? Yes. Yes, I would, so that I don't have to listen to this nonsense anymore. From you, from your fighter, because you and your fighter had the same opportunity to unify this division that Inoue did, and you didn't do it. You didn't try. MJ reigned as a unified champion parallel to Stephen Fulton for some time. And while no offers came from Stephen Fulton to MJ, no offers came from MJ to Stephen Fulton. You guys didn't bother. So that when you go in there with a Marlon Tapales and lose your alphabet titles, lose both of your belts, Inoue moves up. He does what you should have done in record time, in only 2 fights. All of a sudden, Eddie cares so much about MJ Akhmadaliev, cares so much you didn't bother to get him a rematch with Marlon? Didn't bother to help him get his belts back. After that fight, I was actually surprised that there wasn't a rematch, since Matchroom usually has rematch clauses incorporated into the contracts for their champions, just not MJ. Oh, but you care about him now. Give me a break, Eddie. And super middleweight news, Puerto Rico's own Edgar Berlanga released a hit list of names, an itemized list of names he would like to go after. He said, after my March 8th fight, these are the next 6 fights that I want in no particular order. Line them up for me. Jaime Munguia, who just got knocked out by a guy with only 4 recorded knockouts. What a coinky-dink. Jermall Charlo, who's going through mental health issues and just pulled out of his fight with Cornflake Lamana. What a coinky-dink. Caleb Plant, which really isn't a bad shout. Hamza Shiraz. He wants to fight Hamza Shiraz, a middleweight who's made no mention of moving up to super middle anytime soon. What a coinky-dink. A Canelo Alvarez rematch For some reason, this kid's got it in his head that anybody wants to see him fight Canelo again, or that he stands any chance of landing a rematch with Canelo. For what? Nobody wants to see that, and Canelo's not going to give you another opportunity, so why are you playing dumb? And of course, he saved Diego Pacheco for last. He saved Diego Pacheco for last, who was in action this past weekend. Do you really think it's a coincidence that he put him at the very bottom of the list? The guy who's on the same side of the street as him, at the same weight. Unlike Jermall Charlo, unlike Hamza Shiraz, the Diego Pacheco fight would be theoretically the easiest fight to make because you're both promoted by the same promoter, you box on the same platform, you're at the same weight, and that's the one that he puts at the very bottom. It's no wonder that American boxing isn't what it used to be when it's littered with these opportunists. Edgar Berlanga is a C-level boxer, C-level, D-level, but he fancies himself a king for a glorified loss to Canelo Alvarez. So why do you think I don't spend more time trying to get interviews, playing boxes the violin? It's because most of the time the fighters are full of shit. Edgar's full of shit. He knows exactly what he's doing and why he's doing it. And so do I. I don't need to conduct a Q&A to understand why he put Diego at the bottom of the list after being called out by him. In no particular order. Buddy, you made the list. You're still the one that put it together. So when you put Diego at the very bottom, it still communicates the same thing. You're not in a hurry to fight that guy. That's why he's there. Being honest with you, I don't know that Edgar beats the vast majority of fighters that he listed on this itemized list in tandem with what else is out there in the super middleweight landscape, like Christian Mabili or Sajo or Melakuziev, Iglesias. Now, some might say that given Edgar's limited boxing ability, he's only doing what he has to do to survive, to keep the lights on, but where is it written that I have to sympathize? I'm a customer. No more, no less. I'm just a paying customer. No other sport operates in this fashion, and no other sport expects the consumer to sympathize. That if one team in the MLB, take the worst team in the league, take the White Sox. They suck. But because they suck, should they not bother to play? Should they not bother to play the other teams? Should they not try? I thought them trying is what everybody's gathered around here for. So when you look at a fighter like Edgar, and Edgar does suck, what's the point in having a guy like him around if he doesn't want to try? And don't bring up the Canelo Alvarez fight because he didn't go in there to win. And that's very obvious from how he fought. He showed up for a check. Everybody can see that. And now that you've been there and done that with Canelo, and you got paid, what are you gonna do now? Duck Diego. He's gonna duck him. He's gonna put distance between himself and that fight. He's gonna sit on his high horse and pretend that he's this huge draw, this big marquee guy. He's gonna duck him. Second time I've seen him mention a Canelo Alvarez rematch. For what reason would Canelo Alvarez fight you again? What do you think you did in that fight that warrants a sequel? It's ridiculous. And if they're allowed to, a lot of people say and do a lot of ridiculous things. It's ridiculous to think we need another Canelo Alvarez fight, that you deserve one. There are enough guys standing online single file waiting to win the sweepstakes that you don't need another crack at the apple. You didn't do anything. Stupid, and we expected to pretend we don't know any better. We can't see what this guy's doing. He's just wasting our time in the sports. You can expect a lot of angling from this guy. Said it right after the fight. Now that you popped your cherry with Canelo, you are so exposed to the rest of the division. What does he do? Ask for another Canelo fight.